Hi, my name's Kathy Millett, and this week we're comparing three major suppliers of scenic grass, static grass, just to see which one we prefer. So there are hundreds and hundreds of brands of static grass, but I've picked the three that I've used the most because there's actually quite a big difference between them, and you can see what happens when you pick a different brand of grass and the impact it might have on your diorama. Over time, I've done my layout, and you can see this particular section quite conveniently shows all three brands coming in quite close to each other. So the first brand I'm going to look at is Woodland Scenics. This is a typical model railroad brand. You can buy it all over the country at hobby stockists that do Woodland Scenics. So the second brand I'm going to look at is Noch. Noch is really popular and again very easy to get, especially in Europe. The third brand is a new one, and I used it last week in my video. It's WWS, which is Woodland Scenics, or Peco Scene is how it's being distributed. So you'll be able to find it around the world through Peco, who's a major distributor again, especially to model railways. Now, over the years, I've done my layout with various patches of grass. And I started off with Woodland Scenics because I bought a lot of it. And I've got these Woodland Scenics static grass flock, medium green and light green that I've used. Now, if you hold those up and look at them, you can see, that one's quite sludgy looking. This one, even though it's medium green, still quite sludgy. Neither of them are particularly bright colours. So I've used them on a background area, and you can see them in the background here. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy enough with them. It needs a second coat, and without the layering spray that I used last week, I struggled to get a second coat on here to look good, and they're quite sparse when they went on the first time, and I don't think they've covered that well, so you can see the brown coming through. And all in all, I don't really like this section, and it was always on the to-do list to redo. And now I've discovered layering spray is getting redone this afternoon. My big problem is the colours are just dull. And I'm modelling 5th of July. Generally very bright grass. Not as bright as spring, but certainly much, much brighter. And when I go and look at the photos, much, much brighter than the two Woodland Scenics colours that I've used previously. Okay, so moving around the corner a bit, looking down, I've got to a section which I did with Noch. Now, I like Noch actually, but it does have the odd brightly red coloured bit of grass in there. So kind of weird sometimes, but it has a lot more springness and brightness to it. It's definitely a much brighter colour. So these are sort of typical Noch colours. This is let's have a look. So this is wild grass. It's actually quite long, and I tend to use that in the mix to add a bit of variety. And there's other things that I use. I mean, I've got a big packet here of just a spring meadow grass, and this again is quite short. So you can get a lot of different lengths of Noch. It's not labelled as such like some of the brands are. And if you look very closely, you can see there's definitely a lot of variety of colours. So I do like Noch, and it has generally given a better colour. You can see as you look over here, there's a definite piece of colour, and certainly round this section, it sort of fades out a bit. It doesn't do well on the slopes. It's very hard to glue on slopes, and you'll have noticed that last week, which is where I'm actually going to go over both these areas now so they're consistent, and the layering spray is going to be brilliant for that. So now if we look at this section, this is actually one of the best sections to show the different colours on my layout. So the new grass that I've just done is along here, and this is the WWS Peco Scenic Grass, and you can see it's got a lot of depth to it because it has the two layers which go on very easily, and actually it has three layers, doesn't it? And it has a sort of a brighter undercoat and then a stronger top coat. It's got variety through it as well. It's not all just one colour, and I really like the texture and feel on it, even though it's a vertical surface, which is, well, not vertical, but near vertical, which is quite hard to do. And then you look at the grass behind, and this side had a lot more Noch in it, and this side had a lot more Woodland Scenics in it. And it looks a bit duller. Now, I will be honest, some of that could be a bit of dust because, you know, I haven't hoovered this in a long time. But generally, even the Noch, which is a brighter green, isn't as thickly on, and that's because I found it quite hard to get a second coat on. You can brush it with some white glue or something and it just isn't as easy. So I've got to say the system that WWS have provided looks better when done in its entirety, and that 2mm base coat makes a huge difference. None of the others sell them in lengths that are measured by millimetres. So you can go and look at the Noch products and see what they are, and they do a variety of lengths. Woodland Scenics, I've only got static grass flock. I don't have long and short lengths of it. So it does end up with a much deader looking grass because it doesn't have the variety. So what's the conclusion? Well, if you look at the techniques that each brand describes to you, I think the WWS layering technique that I used last week gives the best effect. It is a bit longer on the grass, so in end scale it probably would look way too long, but you cannot beat having that 2mm, the 4mm and the 6mm layers. It does make a huge difference. If you're looking at the actual static grass product itself, Woodland Scenics, its length is supposed to be 1 to 3mm within it, but there's only one length you can buy, so you can't do that layering effect, and it's very hard to put a second coat on, and I find getting the density of grass across a huge area just doesn't look as good as the other two because the colours are all uniform. It's a very dead, flat looking section of grass as a result. I do like Noch. A lot of people complain it has the odd red grass strand in it, and it's true. There are the odd colour in it that's just a bit weird. From a distance it looks fine, but close up you sometimes think, oh, you know, especially if you're looking at it in the packet more than perhaps if you're on the ground. The WWS has some great colours. It has a lot of mix in it like Noch. So between the pair of them, they both have nice bright colours. They have dead colours, they have live colours, they have greens, they have it set by the time of year, so you can just pick up a spring one and know it's going to be a brighter green. They have different lengths. So between the pair of them, they're both, I think, quite comparable in their product range. I think WWS probably edge it a little for me just because they've produced the layering spray.
Look at me, I'm walking on water. Woo! I can walk on water, Mum! Look at me! Water! I'm so good. Look at this, I'm walking on water. I'm dancing on water. Woo! Isn't it amazing? It's water! I can walk on water. I'm brilliant. Look how good I am.
It's not water. You have
Not
to
wet.
spoil everything, don't you?
Well, I'm enjoying dancing on the water.
You call that dancing?
I'm gonna get it. Okay.
Look at me.
I can walk on water. Honest, look.
Look at me. I'm
It's not
standing
even
on
wet.
water and I'm
I mean, that's
not
what it is.
sinking. Whoa.
Okay, so it's not really water, but I'm still walking on water. I'm dancing on water. It is dancing.
Mm.